Severe weather warnings across Queensland and northern New South Wales. Heavy rain, strong winds, flash flooding possible. A tropical low developing in the Coral Sea this weekend. That is what we're re-looking at. I've examined the latest from the Bureau of Meteorology, gone through the models, and there is a fair bit to cover. This system has the potential to bring significant impacts right across the eastern states. So let us break down what is happening and what you need to know. Right now, conditions across Queensland are all over the shop. Up in far north Queensland around Mount Carbine, it's been absolutely stinking. 34 degrees at 10 a.m. with 85% humidity. Minimum overnight was 28 degrees. That is the kind of heat that doesn't let up even at night. The Gold Coast and southeast Queensland have been dealing with high humidity as well. Sticky, uncomfortable conditions. Glen Innes down in New South Wales is disgustingly humid too, waiting for rain to break the pattern. Compare that to what is happening out west. Alpha in central Queensland finally got some decent rain earlier today, bucketing down this arvo. After weeks of dry conditions, that is welcome relief. But here is the concern. The weather pattern we're seeing right now is about to shift dramatically. And it all centres on a tropical low that is developing in the Coral Sea this weekend. Let me explain what is happening meteorologically, because understanding the setup helps you understand why this matters. We've got a monsoon trough positioned across northern Australia. That is typical for this time of year. The build-up in the top end has been well underway. Darwin has been sitting around 35 degrees with high humidity and regular afternoon storms. But what is developing is a surface trough extending from that monsoon activity down into the Coral Sea. When you get that interaction between tropical moisture and a surface trough, you create the potential for low pressure development. The latest from the Bureau shows an area of low pressure forming in the Coral Sea over the weekend. Now, I want to be clear about what we are looking at here. This is not going to be a cyclone. The conditions aren't right for tropical cyclone development. Sea surface temperatures are warm enough, but wind shear is too high and the system is too close to land. What we're dealing with is a tropical low. And if you've been through Queensland weather long enough, you know that tropical lows can cause just as much grief as cyclones when it comes to flooding rain. Let us look at the model data, because there is some interesting disagreement here that affects the forecast. The access model from the Bureau has been relatively consistent. It shows the low developing Saturday night into Sunday morning, roughly 500 kilometres east of Cairns. The low then tracks south-southwest, bringing it closer to the coast through Sunday and Monday. The European model is broadly in agreement with that track, but it is slightly slower. It keeps the low further offshore through the weekend, then brings it westward Monday into Tuesday. The GFS model is the outlier. It develops the low further north and tracks it more directly west, making landfall somewhere between Townsville and Cairns on Monday. Why does this matter? Because the track of the low determines who gets the heaviest rain and when. If the low stays offshore, like the European model suggests, we're re-looking at prolonged heavy rain along the coast from Cairns down to the Sunshine Coast. The rain would be more spread out over several days. If the low moves closer to the coast or makes landfall like the GFS shows, we get more concentrated heavy falls in a shorter period. That increases the flash flooding risk significantly. Right now, I am leaning towards the access and European solution. They've been more consistent run to run, and they better handle the steering currents in this part of the world. But we need to watch this closely, because small changes in the low S position make big differences in impacts. Let me break this down by region, because the timing and intensity varies quite a bit depending on where you are. Far north Queensland, from Cooktown down to Cairns and the Tablelands, you're already dealing with extreme heat and humidity. That continues through Friday and Saturday. Then Saturday night into Sunday, the rain starts to increase. Sunday through Tuesday, widespread heavy rain. We're re-looking at totals of 100 to 200 millimetres across the coastal strip, with isolated areas potentially seeing up to 300 millimetres if you get under repeated thunderstorm activity. The Daintree crossings are relatively low right now, which is good. But with that much rain coming, anyone planning to travel Monday or Tuesday needs to have a backup plan. Those crossings can rise very quickly, and once they re-up, you are stuck. For those moving house in the Daintree area early next week, Monday the 19th or Tuesday the 20th, ID seriously consider rescheduling. The timing isn't good. You don't want to be shifting furniture in heavy rain with the risk of roads cutting. North Queensland, Townsville down through the Whitsundays. You've already had some thunderstorm activity. Gumlu copped storms this arvo. That is just the appetizer. Sunday into Monday, the rain increases significantly. Widespread falls of 50 to 150 millimetres heavier about the ranges. The concern here is flash flooding in urban areas. Townsville S already seen some flash flooding today from isolated storms. When you get sustained heavy rain over a longer period, the drainage systems get overwhelmed. If you're replanning to travel home Monday from the Whitsundays area, keep an eye on conditions. Roads can flood quickly and it's not worth getting caught out. Central Queensland from Mackay down to the Capricorn Coast. The rain arrives Sunday evening and continues through Monday and Tuesday. Emerald S Fairbairn Dam got a bit of a boost from the earlier system. It was at 16%, now it's almost 21%. That S positive. This upcoming rain has the potential to add more, but again, it depends on where the heaviest falls set up. The Dam S catchment might not be in the bullseye. Rainfall totals for central Queensland look like 50 to 100 millimetres, possibly higher closer to the coast. Not as extreme as further north, but still significant after the dry conditions many areas have experienced. Southeast Queensland, Brisbane-Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. This is where the forecast gets a bit uncertain because it depends on how far south the moisture extends. Brisbane S been bone dry this summer. People are asking why. It's been a combination of high pressure systems dominating and rain bearing systems tracking too far north or south. This pattern's been frustrating, particularly with the humidity you've been copping without the rain to break it. This system has potential to finally bring decent rain to southeast Queensland, but I am not making promises. The models show scattered showers and thunderstorms Sunday through Tuesday with totals anywhere from 20 to 80 millimetres. That S a wide range and it reflects the uncertainty in exactly how far south the tropical moisture pushes. If the low tracks further south than currently forecast, Brisbane could see significant rain. If it stays north, you might just get isolated showers. We'll have a better idea by Saturday afternoon once the low forms and we can see its actual position and movement. Northern New South Wales, from the Queensland border down to Coffs Harbour. Similar story to southeast Queensland. You on the southern fringe of this system. The models show shower and thunderstorm activity increasing Sunday and Monday. Totals of 20 to 60 millimetres are possible, but again, it's highly dependent on how far south the moisture extends. For anyone planning storm chasing around Coffs on Friday, you might get some activity, but the main event is Sunday and Monday further north. Still, it'll be better than Brisbane, so if you are keen to get out, go for it. Now, let's talk about what makes this situation different from a typical rain event, because there are some specific concerns. First, the rainfall rates. When you get tropical moisture feeding into storms, you can see very high rainfall rates in short periods. We're talking 50 to 100 millimetres in an hour in some cells. That is enough to cause flash flooding even in areas with good drainage. Urban flash flooding is a real risk, particularly in Townsville, Cairns and coastal centres. If you are in low-lying areas or areas prone to flooding, have a plan. Know your evacuation routes. Don't wait until water S rising to work out what you are doing. Second, this is a multi-day event. It's not a quick-moving storm that dumps rain and moves on. We're re-looking at Sunday through Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday for some areas. That prolonged rainfall increases the flood risk because catchments stay saturated and rivers keep rising. Third, the humidity. You're already dealing with uncomfortable humidity levels. That S not going away. In fact, it gets worse as the tropical moisture moves in. This affects more than just comfort. People have been crook for weeks with flu and sinus issues. Temperature and humidity fluctuations stress the immune system. If you're feeling run down, take it easy. Hydrate properly. Check on elderly neighbours and mates, particularly those in areas that might lose power. Heat and humidity without air conditioning is dangerous for vulnerable people. Now, the winds. This isn't a cyclone, so we're not looking at destructive winds, but tropical lows can still generate strong winds, particularly in squalls associated with thunderstorms. Gusts of 60 to 80 kilometres per hour are possible, mainly Sunday and Monday. That is enough to bring down tree branches, particularly in saturated soil where root systems are compromised. Secure loose items around the property. Outdoor furniture, trampolines, anything that can become a projectile in strong winds. For those on the water, this is not a weekend to be out fishing. Seas will be rough with heavy swells and dangerous conditions. The forecast is for winds of 25 to 35 knots with gusts higher in squalls. Stay off the water until conditions improve. Marine interests need to secure vessels properly, check mooring lines, make sure everything is battened down. We've seen what happens when boats break loose in rough weather. Let's address the broader pattern because this tropical low is part of a larger setup we're seeing across eastern Australia. We've had messy low pressure systems and surface troughs for weeks now. People are asking, is this normal? It's not unusual for this time of year. The monsoon is active. We are getting interaction between tropical and mid-latitude systems, and that creates complex weather patterns. What has been unusual is how dry southeast Queensland and parts of New South Wales have been despite this active pattern. The systems have been tracking in ways that miss the areas that need rain most. That might be about to change. This tropical low has the potential to finally push that tropical moisture south into areas that have been missing out. But again, I am not making guarantees. The forecast isn't certain enough yet. Looking beyond this system into the latter part of next week, there is potential for another low to develop. It is too early to have confidence in the details, but the pattern suggests we're not done with wet weather after this weekend system moves through. For farmers and those with livestock, this is a double-edged sword. Many areas desperately need rain. The dams are low, paddocks are dry. But too much rain too quickly creates different problems. Flooding, boggy ground, stock getting bogged. If you've got animals in low-lying areas, consider moving them to higher ground before the heavy rain arrives. It's easier to move them now than trying to rescue them later. Check your water supplies. If you re-on-tank water, this is an opportunity to top up. But clean your gutters first. You don't want all that debris washing into your tanks with the first heavy rain. For those in urban areas, check your stormwater drains. Clear any debris. Make sure water can drain away from your property. A blocked drain can turn a heavy downpour into a flooded garage very quickly. If you are travelling this weekend or early next week, stay informed. Check the Bureau of Meteorology website regularly. They'll be updating warnings as the system develops. Don't drive through floodwater. If it is flooded, forget it. That is the SES slogan and it is good advice. More people drown in their cars trying to cross flooded roads than any other flood-related cause. It is not worth the risk. If you lose power, which is possible with strong winds and lightning, have torches and batteries ready. Fill the bathtub with clean water before the storm hits if you are concerned about water supply. That gives you drinking water and flushing water if the supply gets cut. For those asking about whether to reschedule plans, use your judgment. If you are meant to be doing something critical Monday or Tuesday in areas likely to be heavily impacted, have a backup plan at minimum. The weather might not eventuate as badly as forecast, but it's better to be prepared and not need it than the other way around. Let me put this in historical context because many of you remember similar events. This isn't approaching the scale of the 2011 Queensland floods. That was a devastating event. Brisbane and Toowoomba particularly. Widespread major flooding, significant property damage, lives lost. This system won to reach those levels based on current forecasts. But it has similarities to smaller tropical lows we've seen in recent years that have caused localised flash flooding and disruption. The key difference between a manageable rain event and a disaster often comes down to rainfall rates and where the heaviest falls occur. If we see sustained heavy rain over urban centres or in catchments already at capacity, problems escalate quickly. That's why I'm emphasising preparation without panic. This is serious enough to take precautions, but it's not the end of the world. You've seen worse. Be prepared, but don't panic. For those interested in the technical side, let me touch on a few aspects of this system that make it meteorologically interesting. The Madden-Julian oscillation has been in a phase favouring convective activity over the eastern Indian Ocean and moving into the maritime continent. That S enhanced the monsoon trough and contributed to the tropical moisture we're seeing. Sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea are running about 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. That S warm enough to support deep convection and tropical low development. But as I mentioned, wind shear is too high for cyclone development. We're seeing 15 to 25 knots of shear at upper levels, which disrupts the organisation necessary for cyclone formation. What we get instead is a low-level circulation with heavy rain and thunderstorms, but without the symmetric structure of a tropical cyclone. Still capable of causing significant impacts through flooding rain, the steering currents are relatively weak, which is why we're seeing differences in the model forecasts. When steering is weak, small variations in the upper level pattern create big differences in track. That S, why we need to stay flexible with this forecast. As we get closer to the event and the low actually forms, the forecast will tighten up. Satellite imagery will show us exactly where the centre is and which direction it's moving. That real-time data always improves the forecast considerably. I'll be monitoring this closely over the weekend and will update if there are significant changes to the forecast. For now, here's what you need to do. If you in far North Queensland or North Queensland, prepare for heavy rain Sunday through Tuesday. Secure loose items, clear drains, check on vulnerable neighbours, have emergency supplies ready and plan unnecessary travel. Central Queensland, similar preparation. The impacts might not be as severe, but it's still worth taking precautions. South East Queensland and Northern New South Wales, stay informed. You might get significant rain, you might just get showers. Have a plan either way. Everyone needs to avoid floodwater, stay off the water this weekend and keep up to date with Bureau of Meteorology warnings. This is a developing situation. The tropical low hasn't formed yet. Once it does, we'll have better data and a clearer picture of impacts. Until then, prepare for the potential, but stay calm and use common sense. That is the forecast for this weekend. S tropical low in the Coral Sea, heavy rain, strong winds, flash flooding possible, mainly from Sunday through Tuesday across Queensland and potentially into northern New South Wales. Stay safe, stay informed.